and concern about the future of your city. Camron Murray is my name. I lecture in economics at the University of Queensland, and I specialise in grey corruption, better put as political favouritism that's unethical, that costs the rest of us, but that's completely legal. And I studied this for 5 years during my PhD, and I've written a book about it called Game of Mates. So what I want to do today is share what I think are the few most important things to keep in mind when you're trying to get some serious changes happening in your city. Now, what you've got here in Ipswich is probably one of the worst cases of abuses of power that we've seen across the state, but you're not alone.
So we're at level 4?
Level 1. I don't think I can put numbers on it, but just be assured, you're not alone. This is happening at all councils as they consolidate power over time, and they begin to abuse that power where they can to make their mates wealthy at the expense of everybody else.
And get their own pockets filled with money.
What you need to realise is that no man rules alone. It is not the case of one bad egg and if you throw it out, immediately change will happen. This is exactly not what's going to happen. You are going to change nothing. There are no one-man bands pulling all the levers. What you need is a systematic change. You need fresh faces at all levels, and you need new leadership that knows what sort of change they want. Not new leadership that wants the power that the old leadership had and will just build on those networks of mates to consolidate that power further for themselves. What power comes from groups. That's the important thing to keep in mind. It's not from individuals. There are, of course, leaders in every group. Now, you need to keep this in mind for two reasons. Firstly, if you want to elect a new mayor, throw out the current mayor, you've changed nothing. You need to get rid of the council. You need fresh faces. You need fresh faces across the administration, and you need these people, the new people, to know what they're going to do when they get there. Because they're going to get there, throw out all the old mates and realise how much power them and their new mates actually have. You want new people to come in who know what rules they're going to enact, who are willing to tie their own hands, and those of their mates, so that they cannot abuse their power, and then when they're gone, the next people cannot. That the community is committed to the new system of rules that are in place. That's what we need to be talking about here. The other thing to understand about the power of groups is, with a community of very interested people like this, we need to consolidate our own power. We need to fight fire with fire by working as a group, supporting each other, knowing what we want. We need to be out there putting out our solutions and controlling the debate and keeping everyone on side and working as a team. This is somewhat happening across the state as we speak. There are community groups like these in councils all across the state looking for help, looking to work together to write their submissions to planning applications, to fight them in the courts. We need to work together and professionalise. We need to think about raising money as a group, organising a structure as a group, paying professional planners to combat the nonsense rubbish planning applications that we see happening all the time, that are bulldozing all the forests, ruining the koala habitats, ruining river streams, all of the sorts of things, not paying their way. We need to organise, because most of the time, if we get the professional planning advice, the professional legal advice, we can fight them at their own game if we are organised. We need to know what we want, get organised, because they have a group who is organised, who has the power, but we can have the power too if we do it.
Good.
Sure. The last thing I want to put out there are some ideas of how to change the rules, to get the fresh faces and the new bodies in council. What do we actually want them to do? How do we want them to tie their hands? Now, I have two ideas I want to share today. The first, I want to charge developers for the value gains from council decisions for rezoning. What that means is that when councils select their mates and give them a rezoning that's outside the plan, they have to pay for their gains. And if they have to pay for it, they might not be asking for the favour. Now I've been reading all the literature and all the studies. I actually ran myself. I ran a computer game where I had over 500 students participate in an experiment in groups where they could trade favours, just like we see in politics. 84% of students did form their groups of mates and trade favours, so it's very much human nature. The only thing that worked when I changed the rules of this computer game was to decrease the size or the value of the favour. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about charging for the value of rezoning decisions. If you're a council and you can hand your mate $10 million from a planning decision, you're going to be tempted to do it, and they're going to be very tempted to ask for it. If it's only $1 million and you have to jump a bunch of legal hoops, maybe they won't ask it and they won't take the risks. So that's the first thing, charging for the favours. And that takes pressure off everybody else in the city to fund the new roads and all the upgrades. Okay, it's a much fairer way to share it, and it takes away the value of the favour. The second thing, we should have independent decision makers for planning decisions, and what I have in mind are citizen juries. Imagine if we had a court system with professional juries. We have essentially the same thing now, professional planners. 1 week they're working for the developers writing the application, the next they're working for the council assessing it. What we want to have is independent decision making, a lottery where citizens can be drawn from across the city to make those decisions and give their assessments. Does that fit with the plan? Does that fit with what we want? And give them the power. And we need a new council that will commit to this sort of thing, in things that are in the genuine interest of the people and not their mates. So it's a big radical change, but those are the sorts of things we need to be pushing for. We need to get organised, we need to raise money, we need to know what we want, we need to clean out the council. It's not just one bad egg, and we need to fight not just here but across the state for these types of things.
Time to drain the billabong.
Exactly. I mean, it's very cliche, drain the swamp, but this is exactly how humans organise. Just keep in mind, it's not that these people were born evil. Okay, they're just people like you and I, and if you had that power for that long with those mates, you'd be tempted too. Okay, so just be wary that although you've got a mayor who's completely overstepped the mark in many ways, he's just a human being like everyone else, and most people would be tempted by that much power for that long. So we need to get new people in who know what they're going to do, who know that they have to give up power. We'll wait for that. So that's my best advice for you today. I really want to be constructive with what I say, because don't think that the CCC investigating one person is going to help. Remember that most of the favours given out by councils, not just here but across the state, are completely legal. It's only the rare case where they've overstepped the mark and gone too far that we've actually been able to catch them. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is having an ICAC in Queensland and what the purpose of doing it is. Okay, the purpose is not to enforce the current laws. The purpose is for them to be able to promote new investigations, to recommend changes to the laws that create independence. Because at the moment in Queensland, our laws are some of the most easy and generous for the mates to trade favours. We can have politicians leave the state government on Friday as the planning minister, and on Monday work for Lend-Lease or Springfield. And they've all done that. We can have laws that require them to have 2 or 3 year cooling off periods where they can't work in that industry. Okay, that's what happens elsewhere. We can have those rules too. So we need some kind of independent body that is going to push for these changes. And what they're going to be able to do is investigate that grey area of favouritism where things aren't strictly illegal, but they're probably unethical. Okay, and they're probably misconduct by any layperson's interpretation. And we need that sort of power to be pushing back at all times against this. That's the sort of independent body we need, not one that's going to only take complaints once the community's done all their investigation for them, and only look at it if the community has outlined exactly which law has been broken. Okay, that's the sort of ICAC we need. That's what we should be aiming for. So thank you very much. If you haven't got my book, that should inspire you. Perhaps you'll be
Great book.
How much is your book?
$20. I have a box of them here if you don't have it. So thanks. Camron Murray's my name. Good luck with everything.
Thanks for your speech.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, Cameron.